Okay. Sorry, I actually muted on purpose. Thank you, though. But yes. Hi, Georgia Bad. Welcome. And anybody else that tuned in. So I found out that I just got even more sick. So I was supposed to stream on Tuesday. So I'm like, okay, great. Stream on Monday, stream on Tuesday, we'll get stuff done, right? And then turns out that I just got even more sick and I caught COVID. So I'm like, oh my god, I'm even worse now. But yeah, so I'm recovering from more sickness after getting sick again. So yeah. But yeah, hello. So today's Thursday, we're gonna try and do some coding today. And yeah. But yes, welcome. So today, the goal is to get back on track to what we were working on last week, involving Chapter 4 boss AIs, continuing work on that, like, shadow boss that would mimic the player's, like, class abilities. So we're going to be continuing working on that soon. I want to see if I can address this error, though. So, in our, like, get to actions, every time we commit, like, I have a pull request here, and we can't submit the pull request until all tests pass. And one of the tests is it runs all the unit tests in our unit testing suite, and it actually seg-faulted running one of them. So I'm like, that's weird. Why did seg-fault? Seg-fault's really bad. But I have a hunch that maybe it's just specifying either an invalid image or an image that it actually needs loaded. So we're going to look at that. So this is enchant tests on line 1045. Now on my Windows machine, it doesn't seg-fault. So that's interesting. So it must be like assets related. So we're going to go there. We're going to go to 1045 and we're going to see what happens. Woo, stream day. Yes. Still sick, but stream day, which is fine. And at least is something, right? Okay, so... Oh, hold on. I was added and then I moved it. So yeah, line 1045. That might just be the test itself. Okay, so this is the test right here. And I'm looking here and there's nothing that indicates like it's loading an asset. But it does perform the witch's ability, which is, the default witch's ability is you briefly turn into a cat and you leap away from whatever position you're at. It's supposed to be defensive, right? So, naturally, this would result in it loading a new asset. So, it could be that. I'm not entirely sure yet, but we'll see. But if we just look at the code here, it's called transform, and specifically it's testing if we have this enchant. It's called 9 lives, and it just says if cat form's active, it adds a timer, and then it activates cat form. So I think this right here, well, it causes this variable to be true, which then I think renders the player as that image instead, which I guess is fine. Normally, it just sets the player's image. Yeah, there's like a special animation called transform, and then it kind of just does that. So my guess is that cat form, whatever is in response to cat form in terms of drawing, is not properly working. So I'm going to take a quick peek. Now, this doesn't happen inside of Windows, so I'm not sure what's going on exactly. But you can see here, animation frame gets equal to get cat frame, which is then a different animation state object. So that's kind of interesting because I originally thought maybe it was just going to be another animation sequence inside of player, but it looks like it's an entirely separate thing. So now that makes me wonder, like, the way this is done is every animation needs to be initialized and set. So I guess my question is, does this exist somewhere? Does this, like, witch catwalk, whatever state, does it exist somewhere? I assume it does, and I assume if we were to actually try this out, it would work. And so, I'm wondering why it's seg-faulted here, which is kind of a pain because it literally just stops when it's seg-fault, so I need to figure out how we're gonna approach fixing this. So I guess the first thing we could do is try to run it and see what happens. Oh, also another cool thing I saw, if I just scroll up here to the build, like, so I made it so the pack key was actually a secret, and I thought this was just kind of cool. Like, this makes sense because, like, it's a secret, right? It's not supposed to show up and be known, but secrets, if they accidentally get outputted, are replaced with these asterisks. So I thought that was really cool. I just thought that was a neat little feature that I'm like, what if your secret just gets, like, leaked due to, like, a random output message from, like, an error or something? And that's actually what happened here exactly. It's like, it actually filtered it, which is a smart piece of design. Now, obviously, it shows one of the contents of it, which I think is hilarious, but it did filter it, which I thought was a really cool thing. It's just security, right? It's something that, like, you realize, yes, this kind of makes sense because it's a secret, but you just don't think about in the moment until it happens, and you're like, oh, well, I'm glad it doesn't just leak out what the secret value is. Anyway, that was kind of cool. I'm trying to see if there's, like, anything else that might have messed this up. Like, change class could, but all these have changed class. So it's like, if like this didn't seg-fault, then why did this one seg-fault? Like, all these things don't add up. There's also this test keyboard input, which might not be populated, but I doubt it. So it could be that. I don't know. It's hard to say, right? And it doesn't tell me, like, which require it was. It just seg-faulted at some point in time. Yeah, it doesn't tell me anything else, which is kind of unfortunate. But I guess what I'm gonna have to do, there are a couple ways to go about it. I could first try to run it inside of, like, I could try to compile it myself, and then I can run it in the machine and see what happens. Just see what it produces, right? Because if it's producing, like, an executable, then we should be able to, like, access this. Or at least we can go in and build it ourselves. At least in theory, we should be able to. So I could go that route. It's definitely an option. Like, the Docker container already exists. I just literally have to, like, I just have to run it. So I don't know if I want to pull out all the Docker stuff and try to make it work right now. I guess we could spend a day working on Docker stuff. I'm just, Or I could pull up my other machine here and try to compile it on that, and maybe that'll tell us what's wrong. Like, that's an option. I don't know. I'm just, like, trying to figure out what the best course of action is right now, because I don't like, let me see. Okay, it's on it. Like, I might be able to do it here. I don't know. Does that work? Okay. So I figure what I might do is maybe later we'll work on that. It'll be like a side thing. I'll just pull it up on there and see what to do about it, because, like, I really don't want to, like, spend too much time on this. I can just, like, pull it. Oh my god. Yeah, it doesn't even resolve the host anymore, so I don't... Wait. It's not connected to the internet? Oh my god. But yes, hi there. I'm doing pretty sickly still, but we're gonna try to do some coding today. Yeah. I announced it earlier, but apparently, on top of getting sick 2 weeks ago, I found out I got even more sick and got COVID right after I was starting to get better with whatever infection I had before. So now we're just getting sick after sick. And I've never had COVID before in my life, so that's kind of funny that it finally happened. So yeah, we're just waiting to get better now. And that's just how it's gonna be. So, let's start in... Like, the last thing we were working on was all of the warrior abilities being converted to be handled by both... Oh, hello? To be both handled by the player and the enemy structure. So like, nowadays for actions we pass in an entity, and then depending on the entity if it's a player or if it's a monster, that determines what actually happens. So sometimes if it's player specific, then we would wrap it in like this if player macro, and then only do stuff for a player in there. And so we were left with this Sonic Slash, which is a projectile bullet that we have to actually, looks like, convert as well. So I think we're going to try and get that done at least today, and then see what happens from there, because ultimately, whatever this problem is over here, I'm going to have to fix later. So that's just going to be something I can do on the side, but let's try and get something actually done in the code base today. So firstly, we have the set state. The player gets locked into this like animation state, so they can't do anything for a moment. And we could do the same for the enemy, but what we're likely going to do is just play like its own animation. But basically, we need to keep the player or monster stuck for a specific amount of time. That's the whole point of this thing, is it plays the animation. So if we wanted to replicate that, we would probably have to separate some code here. But for now, I'm going to say that this is player specific. So this here was a temporary way to say, okay, the entity is always a player right now. We don't care if it's not, but we're just going to assume for now. So I'm going to switch it to this macro. And this macro gives us a player object. So we're just going to change it to that. And it basically acts as an if statement where inside the braces we put whatever we want to occur if the entity is a player object. So then we also add a buff, and during that time it basically keeps the monster or player locked down. So this could actually be exchanged out for the entity itself. Oh, how to get over there. Just e.add buff, and then based on a certain amount of time. Now, because we have configuration variables that might vary between a monster and a player, we now have to make it so we use this config f macro instead to get the correct variable based on whether or not it's a player or a monster. And then we continue down here, and based on the player's facing direction, we decide which way to shoot the bullet, up, left, right, or down. Now we could technically do this with the monster too, so we just have to create a get facing direction, but for a monster. So let's go over to the entity source file, and let's actually take a look at the monster class as well, because I think that function exists, but I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, so we have get facing direction, which literally just returns which way they're facing. So, easy enough. And I assume for the player, the like prototype and return types are exactly the same. One can hope. Oh, it's not. Of course it's not. So this returns a key instead. And I'm guessing the reason why I probably did this was because like a key can be up, down, left, right. And if it's one of those four, then naturally that can be used as a direction. But here we actually use an enum class called direction, which is just in its own little header file called direction. So if we wanted it to actually be usable, we'd have to change one or the other to use this system. I'd be more inclined to change the players because a key doesn't really represent what a facing direction is supposed to be. So let's go that route. And by changing this, we now have to change the type of the facing direction value Apparently the default is down, so I'm just going to replace that with direction south. And then whatever relies on this variable probably is broken now. So we're going to have to look at that. Okay. So we could see a lot of these used up, right, down, left before. Those were naturally key states. Now that's no longer going to be the case. Firstly, in the constructor, replace that with direction south as the default. And then we have a switch facing direction, which was the for the spin which we dealt with before regarding the ground slam. So now we're gonna have, it looks like up and down, but there's nothing for left and right. Well, there's right here. It looks like that determines the angle, but it looks like we determine the flip direction based on it's whatever code I wrote here before, right? No way you're coding without AI. That's crazy. It's more like I've always been coding like this, so this, I don't think it's that crazy because this is just how you code. Like, a lot of people get surprised that I don't, and they're like, how can you not? And I'm like, that's just the way we've coded for like the longest time until AI came into existence. Like, it can't really be that foreign, can it? And at the same time, I think for a lot of folks it's more like the realization that like not everybody, just because AI like lets you work faster and is more convenient, doesn't mean everybody's doing programming for convenience, right? Maybe some people actually enjoy the idea, the concept of programming, and actually enjoy going through all of that. And then that's what makes, and that it's actually fun. It's not just something like a means to an end, right? Like, I think a lot of folks out there do like programming for like the money, or like because they want to like do something productive with it. But for someone like me, I'm a hobbyist programmer and I just enjoy doing it because it's actually fun. I enjoy the problem solving. I enjoy the trials and tribulations that come with trying to learn and understanding computing as a whole. And developing software and seeing the computer do things is really cool. And when you make it work, you're like, I made that. I made the computer do something that I wanted it to do, and that's awesome. So yeah. That's like, there's more to coding than just have to go as fast as we can and have to, like, there's more ways to do it, right? And there's more ways to understand coding than just trying to be quick about it, trying to be, I don't know if lazy is the right term, more like trying to think less. Like, I think AI also makes people like think less about code, which is kind of unfortunate because programming is a very like involved activity. It's a very thoughtful activity. So to lose that, like, it's a little sad. Like, I actually tell people, like, one thing I like about coding is it's kind of like doing a daily crossword puzzle. It's like, it kind of keeps the brain sharp, right? It makes you think. You have to, like, come up with solutions. It's actually a very good way to keep your brain sharp, and AI just kind of got rid of that. At least if you use it excessively. Maybe if you, like, do some research with it, that's probably fine. But a lot of people think like AI in programming now is insert some prompts, get back some code, review that code and use that code, move on to next prompt. Which is kind of unfortunate. It means we're not actually engaged with the code we're looking at. So I've been programming for a little over 23 years. I've been working with C++ specifically for almost 7 years. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. In the grand scheme of things, I'm pretty new to C++. But yeah. So I adjusted all that to direction, so now the prototypes for both player and monsters get facing direction are the same. So I'm going to go back to entity now, and we're going to introduce a get facing direction function. And all this is going to have is that. It's just going to return the facing direction of either or. Our macro call class function will assume both are exactly the same. So that should just work. And we have to just change the return type. And we should be good to go there. At least I hope we're good to go there. It looks like it doesn't know what facing direction is, so we gotta insert that. It's just a header. Include direction. And so that's happy now. And so with that out of the way, we can go back to Warrior. So now that we have a get facing direction for entities, we can now base this case statement on both players and monsters. So since this ability makes like a little pushback effect, it's gonna adjust the velocity directly. I don't know if we actually have access to the velocity yet for a monster, because obviously I don't have like a set velocity function here, so we're gonna have to add one, but I don't even know if that exists. Oh, it does. Cool. So we have set velocity, it takes in a vector. Assume that's just a velocity vector. And let's see for player. Does player have one? Set velocity, it does. Okay, cool. So we can do another entity function just for that as well. So this will be set velocity, accepts a v2d vel, a float vector 2d vel, and then just call the appropriate class function for that as well. Like so. And then after that, just a lot of silly copy paste stuff. Okay. Now we can call setvel instead, which is fine. It looks like we adjust either the X or Y component depending on which way we're going. I wonder if I could simplify that just a little bit. It doesn't really matter. The update animation is definitely only for the player, so we can say if player, it's going to only do this part of the code. So we can at least take care of that. And then for these two, we're going to change them to be e.setvel, set velocity. And then what we set the velocity to is based on which component we're editing. So if it's the Y component, then we're going to input it like this. And I assume if it's up, the knockback is pushing us downward, which it is, it's positive, because for down, it's pushing us upward, so negative. So we invert it based on that, and then we're also going to be using this config f macro so that it's context sensitive based on whether it's for an entity or a monster. This needs to be in its own little set of braces because it's a VF2D struct initializer. And then down here, yeah, we see the negative here, so it's gonna be similar. It's just this component is flipped. And then we do the same for left and right, but it's for the X component instead of the Y component. So for this one, it's going to push us in the positive X direction. And for the other one, it'll push us in the negative X direction. Okay. Looks like I'm just missing some parentheses here. Okay. So next we have to do the... Oh, right. The facing directions is no longer keys. So it's going to be direction north. We have left, right, and south. Left is west, and right is east. Expected a close parens. Did I miss parens somewhere? Maybe I did. Or did I forget, like, the end ifs? I did forget the end ifs. Yeah, so for each of these, like, player ifs or if players. I have to put end ifs, which are like closing parentheses. Same with this one. And then down here, we determine the damage. So replace that with config f. And instead of p.getAttack, it's now e.getAttack. And then we check if the player has an upgrade. So first we say, only do this if player. Then we can check if the player has an enchant. And if so, do player-specific enchant stuff. Then we create the Sonic/bullet itself, which... just looking at it, there's a couple variables to replace here. So let's do that first. I'm as old as you want me to be. Or as young as you want me to be. But I figure you could take a guess if I've been programming for 23 years, right? At least tells you I've been alive for 23 years, so... but probably a little more, because I don't think you can program right out of the womb. Maybe you could? I don't know. You'd have to be pretty smart to do that. It's basically the same question. I started coding when I was a little kid, so there you go, right? Okay, we're not doing P, it's actually E. This should be an end if. Just trying to fill in all the blanks right now. Alright, let's see, E. This should be on upper level. Why is every streamer and developer out there streaming game dev? Well, maybe they just want to share their project. Maybe they want to have somebody to chat to while they're programming. Or maybe they want to share their knowledge with others, their programming knowledge with others. For me, well, I've been streaming for forever, so I've just kind of gotten used to it. But I also just have a lot of knowledge about programming, so meeting other programmers online and being able to like talk to them about it, I think is really fascinating and fun. So yeah. If you're trying to look for a reason why, then that's my reason why. And I'd imagine for a lot of developers, like, developing by yourself can be pretty lonely. So, like, if you don't have a lot of, like, folks to talk to, then streaming online might help you find some people. And that's part of the beauty of streaming, right? Why not web backend or front end or system dev, but game dev? Oh, I see. You're talking about the type of programming. That's a little more interesting. I'd imagine that a lot of web devs, like professional systems and web devs, are under NDA. So you're probably not going to see professional projects. You might see personal projects, but like, I feel like web dev is so professional coded. It's so boring. Like, I'm gonna be for real. You tell me to start up an NPM project, I'm gonna be bored out of my mind. I'm not gonna be excited to like share that with the world and talk about it, because it's just absolute boring. I think it's dog shit. I'm sorry. Like, I am not excited to talk about that with people. I'm like, here we go. Let me load up 153 projects. Let me load up React, or let me load up whatever newest framework I want, right? Like, I just don't get excited about talking about that, because it's very like, what are we gonna do? We're gonna code a reactive single-page application today? Wow, guys, I'm so excited to make a to-do app today. I hope you all are ready to make another to-do app. Let's make a shopping cart together. Or let's try to get this div centered. That'll be like a whole stream. Just us trying to center a div. I don't know, I give web dev a lot of hate, but at the same time, like... I don't know, it's just so, like, business coded. I think it's more like there's so many like videos out there of like how to do it already that's just like, oh, if you're gonna do like web dev, then it's probably gonna be like, you're probably doing it for the money, so it's probably not very fun. If it's like systems programming, that might be a little more fun, because like imagine somebody like coding some like integrated like circuit or something. Like, actually, like, programming it. I think that would be super sick. Like, doing some, like, hobby project, maybe, like, writing their own... I think people that write, like, Game Boy games, or, like, Super Nintendo games or Nintendo games, like, old school games, are really cool. Because you have to have a certain, like, mindset and way of programming, and you have more limitations, so I think that actually is very fun. So I think something like that, like embedded systems programming, could be really, really nice to see. I think I just successfully converted this all. I don't think there's anything else to really do here. There is sword enchantment. Okay, that's just... I realize that I don't even need to do this because apparently we have e.has enchant, and for monsters, and has enchant always fails. So that's actually really smart of me. Good job, Past Amy. But doing like a game engines are fun too. And I guess that's as close as you'll get to systems programming in most cases. Like, I liked to stream when I was like building like my own MIDI engine, and I was like building like a speedrun timer and all sorts of random stuff. Like making... I really want to make like a word processor. I think trying to build a word processor is a very like fun and interesting project to attempt. Because it's like, it challenges you in a lot of ways. Like, you have to design data in a very specific way. I'm stumbling on my own words today. Okay, this is wrong. I can show the game in a minute, yeah. I'm just converting this real quick. So this here should be this. I guess the only thing we don't get out of here is the player conversion part, right? So if it doesn't exist for an entity, then yeah. Like, that's a problem. I guess I can just... Yeah, that's the downside to this, is I would basically just say if player, then if p, because then I get access to the player class, which is a lot more useful. Edge player. Okay, so in this case, actually doing that is smarter. And then what I want to do is we can test it out by having our warrior thief monster just spit it out for us. So it will now go ahead and try to cast that ability instead of just the player being able to, and it should just work. So under the run state, I'm just going to say use the... I put defensive cooldown here, but really you can just switch this to using ability 3 action, and it will try to do it. And that's basically all we have to do there. I just want to see if I missed anything here. I don't think I did. Although I think it might be missing the variables. So if I go to our monster data file, and I go all the way down, let's see if we have the... Or, excuse me, monster strategies. Monster, where's that? Are you over here? You are. You're also not lined up. What is going on? I want it to be like half the monitor, not like whatever it's trying to do here. Whatever. I'll just do this. This is fine. Okay. So... yeah, I don't have the warrior ability 3 stuff in here, so I have to add those real quick. I would like to see someone scaling a web app to heavy load. Heavy load. I think if it's like a personal dev though, they probably don't have access to the tools unless they're just like... unless they're just rich. I mean, obviously, yeah, it would be interesting. This is stuff like you're not gonna be able... It's stuff that you only get to experience once you're out in the real world and you have to deal with all that stuff, right? So I guess that's the... It would be very educational. I do agree with that. There's stuff that you really sometimes wish you could see without having to be, like, in the field to just, like, gain that know-how. How did you learn C++? What resources did you find the most helpful? So I started with C++ using the exact same rendering framework that I use today. It's called the OLC Pixel Game Engine. It's very simple, and it's used to get graphics very quickly on the screen without worrying about the back end, right? So we don't have to deal with OpenGL or DirectX or anything like that. It's just all handled for you, and you just kind of use it. And it provides like multi multi-operating system compatibility right off the bat. So this is the thing I'm talking about. It's called OLC Pixel Game Engine. It's available on GitHub. It's a single header file, so it's literally just drop in and start using. And in terms of how I got started with C++, is I would just experiment, like making little things with this engine. Like one of my first things I made with this engine as an experiment was to try to make Snake. I think making Snake is a very good starting exercise if you already have experience, because it gets you to place down, gets you using graphics, gets you using input, gets you learning at least a basic array structure, and making all that work. So I did that, and then I basically used this. It was funny, like there was a code jam for this community, the OLC community, like in a week's time from me discovering this. So I'm like, oh, why don't I try to actually learn how to use this? So I literally made that a week before I had to start, and then I basically spent the entirety of the code jam writing C-style C++. But the funny thing is, writing C-style C++ kind of gets you in the mindset of like, oh, this is kind of like what C++ can do for me, in that it provides like everything I learned from C can now apply to C++. So from there, the resources I used were like CppRef is like your big one, because it's just like, if you need to know what a vector is, you can literally just type it in and it'll go. It's like, okay, here's a vector. But this is like very technical, so that's usually a problem for a lot of people, is like, what the heck does all this mean? Like, it's too much information. So then you have a site like Learn CPP, and this is a very like fundamental resource in my opinion, because Learn CPP makes it so you get like a textbook, like chapter by chapter example of all the features of the language. And it's pretty up to date too, up to like C++ 23 concepts. So in my opinion, this is a very good resource for like getting in and looking things up, right? Like if I want to learn what const expression was, I can go in here and start reading about it. And I use it a lot as a reference. There's a lot of good examples on it. And then when I just need to look up stuff, like maybe I forgot what the constructor of standard vector looked like, which is silly, but like you might. So you're like, okay, go look up all the constructors, and there they are. It's CppRef is more like a good lookup resource once you are deep diving into the language. But like for actually learning and understanding the language, I would recommend Learn CPP. I also recommend like a content creator that you enjoy if they like have educational C++. For me, that ended up being the creator of the OLC Pixel Game Engine, JavidX9, which for some reason that's not what I got. But yeah, like JavidX9 on YouTube is the guy who created the OLC Pixel Game Engine, and he has a lot of videos about all sorts of things, and it's kind of language agnostic too, so even if you're not doing C++, the concepts can really apply to any language. He focuses more on the concepts of the problem versus just writing in C++. So it's kind of fun. Yeah. Okay, so I think we're ready to try this now. And this game I'm making uses the OLC Pixel Game Engine. So on top of me just shilling it out because it's cool and easy to use, it's also what I'm building my game off of. So that's kind of cool. You're welcome. I like to try to help folks out. So I personally do both. I do a little mix of both. Like recently we did a visitor pattern to get away from just like strict object oriented, but we like the conversion required us to use the already established object oriented programming stuff that we made, so I did like a visitor pattern. But I do a little bit of both. Like all the monsters is just one class, and then all the data about the monsters are inside of them. So like the monsters aren't split into classes because I think that's just unproductive. But also like the player and monsters are also not in a class either, which means I ended up having this structure, this thing called entity, which has to now link two objects together. So to answer your question, I kind of do both. and it just depends on the situation. I basically try to utilize every feature of C++ when it's appropriate to do so. Like, there's this saying that, like, you don't want to just try to use things just because. You want to use them because it makes sense to. So, for me, like, if I know something exists and I can utilize it and it makes my code better, then I'll keep it in my project. But if I use it and then I find out it's providing too much pain, like it creates a lot of pain points, then we can either revert or try a different solution, right? It's part of developing as a programmer is you have to look at each situation and decide what the right fit is. Okay, so it's complaining about how, like, since we've changed facing direction, now we have to adjust naturally what is using it. So, like here, for example, this is going to be west versus east. So we gotta fix those. And we might just have to do like a find every left and find every right. I know I've asked a lot, could you send a link to the playlist for the music you're using? I don't necessarily have like a link to the playlist, because what this is this is the soundtrack of both Genso Wanderer and Genso Wanderer Lotus Labyrinth, two of my favorite games. But their music is on like Steam if you want to support them. Oh, that's a little spicy image. But anyway, yeah, so like you can go here and actually obtain their soundtracks if you wanted to. It's not that kind of game, I promise. But it's just kind of hilarious. It's called fan service. Also, I think somebody asked me what like was that thing from like an anime or whatever. The things in the background are Nico from Love Live. So I don't know. Somebody asked that and I didn't reply. So yeah, I will not love the dash greater than sign for references. I will not love. Oh, well, these are pointers though. So just like in C, if you need to dereference a pointer and access its members, you use this. But for references, you use a dot, right? So like, this is a reference, but this is a pointer. So yeah. It resembles a character from Bakemonogatari. Oh, cool. Okay, so what's wrong with this? This probably wanted a key. Yeah, so we're gonna have to like change all this. Basically, I'm refactoring this because I'm like, key is like the wrong concept here when I have an enum called direction for the 4 facing directions. So yeah. I hate object-oriented programming. Never worked fully in an object-oriented programming project and language like Java professionally, so never got to practice it daily. Oh, I see. I mean, hate is justified because it does create a lot of like spaghetti and hard to understand concepts. I found that it has both good and bad. I think it has a lot of benefits up front, but I notice as time goes on, it can become very hard to maintain. Like, to me, creating a bunch of classes is not maintainable. Because anything that... Why did I put left? Everything that requires, like, if you add more member functions to a child class that are then required in, or backwards, parent class that are then required in child classes going down, you're opening up more either undefined behavior, or you're opening up more, more maintainability, and the more you have to maintain, the slower you get to work, and the harder it is for the code base to function the way you would like it to. It's just really... It just gets really bad. It looks like I have to update this one too. Whee! Okay, same thing then. I'll just do this. Rust makes it super easy with structs and traits. I don't think I can ever go back to C. I have no Rust experience, so I think that sounds cool. That's kind of like one of the concepts of the visitor pattern I implemented for effects recently, because I'm like, I don't want to have to write all these inside of each of the functions of a class Why can't I just have, like, I don't want a giant switch case, right? So I needed to be able to figure out, based on type, which function to run, and Rust just has that built in, and that's super nice. Do I work with smart pointers? Oh yeah, everywhere. I use them quite often because I prefer safety over foot guns. Yes. I don't want any dead pointers anywhere, and I want to make sure that my game is still working at all times. So yeah, I do prefer smart pointers, and I use them pretty religiously. And there's a lot of them in this game as well. I've converted a lot of my old structures in the game, like I've had multiple refactors throughout this project's lifetime of replacing raw pointers with smart pointers as we discovered issues with the raw pointers. I'm just gonna do a find and replace on this. This is like... yeah, we got quite a bit. Okay, so replace up. I'm gonna just match case also. Okay, replace up with direction north. So my thoughts... so I use shared pointers in a couple places because it just makes it easier to be sure that the pointers I'm using are still valid at different points in time. It's just you have to be really careful, right? Because for a lot of folks, they'll say like, a shared pointer is basically a code smell, because if you can't track the lifetime of your variable properly, then you're probably just writing bad code. But at the same time, like, some of these systems are managed. Like, my rule of thumb is if you have a shared pointer, you're not actually sharing the shared pointer, if that makes sense. Like, the shared pointer is like the parent. And then everybody else only gets weak pointers. If I end up having a shared pointer that's moved to another place, it's only moved. There will never be two references of... There will never be two strong refs. If there are two strong refs, then that's when I think there's a code smell. Why does a value have to live in two places? So as long as you follow that rule, then weak pointers are pretty safe to just sporadically spawn and despawn. Obviously, there's a cost to that, but with the cost comes more safety. I'll also just use unique pointers for things that I want auto-freed, because RAII just does its thing, and it's kind of nice. Just convenient. Just makes it forget. I don't like set something back to null pointer, or forget to set it back to null pointer, or forget it's pointing somewhere and then make that memory be something else. Yeah, that just leads to more problems. So yeah. Making pointers basically be treated like a class, I think, is a very good idea. And as long as you follow that shared pointer rule of the shared pointer only has one source, then I think you're pretty well off when it comes to using smart pointers. Mostly, smart pointers has been useful in my UI system, where, like, sometimes something in-game, like an inventory will update, and either, like, a callback doesn't happen, or doesn't happen immediately, and then that previous pointer dies, or changes value, and then the inventory or UI doesn't know what to do, because it's like, well, if it's just pointing to something random now, then it just kind of screws up, and if it's invalid now, it needs to know that, otherwise it's just gonna keep rendering whatever it's trying to render. I switched to site reliability recently, wonder how it will affect SRE and DevOps. Ooh. Site reliability. Whatever you're doing is crazy amazing. Oh, well, thank you. I like to motivate and encourage. Even if what I'm doing might not be super practical, it is super fun, and it is very enjoyable. I enjoy what I work on day to day on this project. Okay, I'm just clearing out some compiler errors now, which hopefully there aren't much more. Okay, facing key. Oh god, there's just so many things that used to be built off of this key enum, which is really annoying because it's not a key, it's a direction. God, why have I gone? So this is like, this is one of the oldest things in my engine, is the facing direction. It was literally one of like the first things made, right? So I'm like, naturally, I'm like, I don't need a specific direction enum for this. Why not just use keys, which have up, down, left, right? It also has A, B, C, D, because it's a key, and I'm just like, this is just bad. This is just, you naturally get to see like the progression of like, oh, old code lingering around in my old thought processes biting me in the butt later. Just like, it makes no sense. But it did back then. And 3 years ago, Amy definitely codes differently than she does now. So, you know, that kind of makes sense. Optimization is important. I mean, yeah, it definitely is, especially for a game, and I spend a lot of time. Sometimes I feel like I'm optimizing my game for no reason, but like at the same time, optimization is a fun programming challenge, and I think some folks actually enjoy that a lot. It's like, it's not something we get to do often. Like a lot of times for myself, since I'm writing the game mostly, I don't get a chance to sit back and be like, how can I actually make this perform better? Engine rewrite 300 incoming. Yeah. I feel like every other day we're rewriting something about the engine. Okay. Try rebuild this, maybe? Now convert from key to direction. Okay, there's more. Direction south. And we get to see the lovely code that is my engine. Yep, there's even more. Here we go. It is everywhere. Okay. Anything that uses this function. Let's see. So there's quite a few. Yeah, let's try to... Based on targeting direction. So this is supposed to be a float, but it's like... I'm a little confused. Because it's like, get facing direction, but like... Wasn't this a key before? So how did this work? If this requires a float... Wait, the float is the target direction? The float is a... I'm a little confused. So I don't understand why I was sending get facing direction when that's a key before. Like, I can understand this one because this is like an angle, and that's why that one works. Set animation based on targeting direction. Are there two versions of this function? Because this is for a trapper. No, it's under the player class. And that's the correct usage of it. But then I have this one, which is calling get facing direction, and before I refactored it, this was returning a key, right? So how was I converting that from an angle to... Oh, it's an enum. Wait, so this worked by accident before. What? Wait, that's it. Oh, okay, wait. I'm a little confused. Okay, so before, facing direction, I'm trying to think, was like up, down, left, right? And were those based on... Now I'm a little confused, because it's like, what is up, down, left, right? Oh wait, it's under the key, header. Okay, so... Oops. Where's up? Up. That's the Steam input. Where's the actual up? Where is it not in here? Input type, access, Steam, input. I feel like the key then is just an enum in OLC Pixel Game Engine? Key. Types. Okay, key enum. So up is 49, down is 50, left is 51, and right is 52. So are you telling me I somehow converted those? If facing south, target direction... Yeah, like this doesn't make any sense. Like these are based on radians, so it would expect a radian value. So how did we go from sending in a key to it actually set facing direction to facing key? Facing key? A little confusing. And not sure I would even argue this wasn't even working before, if that was the case. Like, this looks like a mistake. This actually looks like a big mistake. So maybe this wasn't working this whole time. That's what I'm starting to get at. So my engine's visualizer has a bug with sampling because causing audio slowdown and speed up. Oh boy. That's always a fun one to dig into, right? Also, Dan Massina, thanks, or hello, welcome to the stream. And Doutlux, thanks for the follow. This is on Visual Studio. It might not look like it because I have like a bunch of like tabs and stuff on the side hidden away, but it's basically Visual Studio. Just compacted, I guess. Because I like to compact it down so that I can actually see everything. Like have more coding space. Oops. Just kind of how I do it. It's actually really nice. Okay. So I'm gonna go under the assumption these have been bugged the whole time, and now we're gonna fix them. So this is wrong, and the direction, I guess, is going to be... I don't know if there really is a direction. I guess we're just gonna say down, or no. We can say the current facing direction. Maybe that was my intent. It was like, use the current facing direction. So then... Can we just not have this? Is that optional? No. Set animation based on targeting direction. Like, we don't have a targeting direction. So we would just call set animation, wouldn't we? Set... I don't even know if I have one. It's like change animation, right? I don't even remember what we've done here. Set animation, update animation. That's what we're looking for. Okay. So it should be like this, which is the equivalent to what I was trying to do here. At least from the looks of it. Because it doesn't make sense to use facing direction there. But yeah. Okay, what else? What else is broken? Okay, we got up, down, left, right. Place with north, south, east, west. Oh, these are backwards. East. West. Okay. We got one for wizard as well. Probably the same exact thing. Yeah. It's just wizard cast instead of witch cast. Can I go forward? Alright, cool. I didn't realize this was gonna be such a random big refactor of an enum. It's because I tried to take a shortcut. So, that's what we get for taking a shortcut 2.5 years ago. 2.5, 3 years ago? I don't know. Forever ago, right? Anyways, what we should now see is wizard. Yes, wizard. Hi, Plasticky. Good to see you. So what we should see is every few seconds, it should just use the sword slash ability. Because, like, we can as a warrior, but the enemy warrior should now be able to, assuming we did it right. So, let's just load up a warrior and just try it real quick. We have a test enemy on the... here, I think. Yeah. So we can just go ahead and try it out real quick and see what that looks like. Oh, great. I figured if anything was gonna be wrong, it was gonna be the animation system now. So this is me walking left, so it's messed up. But yeah. Let me go find... there we go. Okay, so it just used it. It actually hit itself, which is hilarious. I forgot to set the friendly flag. So, since it's based on facing direction, we can only shoot it right now. So I need to go back to... warrior. And... we need to make it so when we create this bullet... I assume it's one... okay, it's set to friendly. So yes, this is going to now be based on e.is friendly. And it will return the... it'll actually not hit the monster. Is that a procedural intro? Yeah, so... yeah, like, it's... I was thinking of, like, what to do with the game's intro, and it's like, yeah, like, literally this loads an actual level, and then the AI just runs, and I'm like... I actually really like that idea, so I kind of just kept it. So, everything... this is, like, literally the game engine just running the game. So I'm like, that's really fun. So, I thought it was a fun little idea, right? So yeah, it's just doing its own thing. So if the game ever breaks, the tile screen breaks too. It makes for actually a nice little, like, just thing to run in the background. Thank you. Yeah. So right now, our facing, when we walk around, we don't move right. So I, like, messed up 2 of the facing directions. That would be under, so we kind of have to look at our changes, because I kind of got lost. I was just, like, on autopilot. So player.cpp. Let's go to next set of changes. Oh, there we go. I found it. Wait, so... No, that's the spin stuff. Okay, no, that's correct. Those are supposed to be opposites. So, south, east, west, north. That's correct. East. Oh, here we go. North, east, south, and west. That looks okay. Hopefully these, like, actual directions are correct. So maybe it's, like, the movement. So we gotta look at, like, the movement code next. Like, the movement based on which direction we're facing. I think that's the next step. Okay, get facing dir vector. Up, down, left, right. Oh wait, but I was moving left. It's just the animation was the right facing animation. So it has to be, like... It has to be one of the warrior walk animations. Okay, I don't know what I clicked. Idle S, idle E, idle W, idle N. Like, I don't see anything exactly wrong here. Okay, maybe it's somewhere else then. Like, that's kind of weird. That's just not interpreting the directions correctly. I'm gonna check Adventures in Lestoria real quick, because this is the actual setting facing directions. So... West... Oh, here we go. So the facing directions are flipped. That should be east. This one should be west. Like so. South and north I got correct. I think that should be it. That's probably what did it. East, south, west. North, south, west. East, south, north. These are find and replaces, so I'm pretty confident about those. Looks like I got east twice here. Should be west. Typo. Wait, if these are the same, why don't I just do... Okay, so this is allowed now. I can just do player update idle animation to player get facing direction, right? Because they are literally the same values now. Apparently the default is supposed to be south, which... It can never be that, because it's an enum, so it has to be one of those 4. It's an enum class specifically, so it has to be... Oh god. Here we go. So that fixes that. South. Okay, I think we're good. Yeah. Also, this is the first time I've done release build since like 2 weeks ago, because I've been in debug build for the past week trying to work on the graphics manager, so yeah. The dynamic resource loading, which I'm glad is pretty much done. One of the unit tests crashes, but we still gotta figure that part out. But overall, it does run better. Like, it also uses less memory now, which I guess is the best part. Like, I'm just happy about that. It does have that, so I had this issue before where the game would flicker whenever you went to a loading screen, because apparently there's like one frame where the black overlay disappears. So yeah, it's very noticeable in debug because of the frame rate, but we should be good now. Oh, I'm going to test with the warrior, because this will do the... Okay, it hits me now, so that's correct behavior. Let me go ahead and just go back to warrior real quick, but I can run and I go left or west instead of east and vice versa, so we're good there. Okay. So now, I'm gonna first commit this change because it's kind of a big... Oh, we're in the wrong branch too. Let's get out of here. Let's go new branch. this is... We're back to... Actually, we're back to the other branch. We need to merge dynamic resource loading back into Shadow Boss. So I'm gonna go to Shadow Boss, and we'll just bring the changes over. And I will then merge dynamic resource loading into Shadow Boss. Because basically we want to bring the latest, even though it doesn't build on Git T actions right now. I'll fix that later, but I just want to merge everything we've got as of late into there. And we should be okay. Okay, it's just having to reload Visual Studio a million times, but we should be good now. This is Visual Studio. It's just, it doesn't quite look like it because I have the wallpaper stuff and I have all these like tabs on the side. Like, it's basically just really condensed, but this is Visual Studio. Like, there's the little icon in the corner. And in case you're wondering, there's Windows. There's a start menu. It's just, usually I have everything like hidden away, so it's kind of compact and neat. But yeah. Okay, so now that I've done that, we want to do a... Oh. Why is everything... I mean, I did a merge. Did we stash the other changes? Because, like, I don't want the stashes to be checking out Shadow Boss. Okay, so this stash must be what I had before. It just got stashed. And this is the actual merged changes. So this shouldn't be the changes we've done today, just the changes to integrate Graphics Manager. 95 changes. Let me just take a quick peek. Just make sure all this code is only code that we've touched in the other branch. Looks good to me. Yeah, that's all changes I've done. So we're gonna go ahead and commit all that. This is just a upstream merge with dynamic resource loading. Okay. And then I can pop this stash after. And we should have everything we've done today. So let's pop and restore. Hopefully that works. Cool. Looks good. I don't know why this error keeps popping up. It's kind of silly, but that should be our changes from today. Looks correct. Okay. So now I'm going to do the commit. So this is change old references of facing direction using the key enum to use the direction enum. And this is release build 13875. Just like that. Alright, looking at time, we're doing okay. So basically, I've implemented all the monster versions of the warrior class. So now we're going to look at all the thief abilities. We just continue right along. So firstly, we have the roll ability. So I'm going to get rid of this. So we have to use the entity structure now. For players specifically, we set the state to roll. So during the roll state, like basically the player does a little spin, just like for ground slam, and becomes invulnerable temporarily. So that's what that state actually does. So we kind of had to implement that state for the warrior thief monster as well, in a similar vein of doing the spin state. So if I were to pull up the player's state for that, we can kind of like just replicate it. Oh, it's over here. I'm gonna move it. And we're gonna look at the roll state. So this one looks a little less involved. It still has the spin angle stuff, so it makes the character actually spin. It actually has a Y squish factor, so it's like it scales the image, which is kind of interesting. And then after a certain amount of time, it resets the state to normal. It also plays this like little footsteps sound every once in a while, which I guess is fine. I don't see anything here that's like very hard to, or that's gonna be very hard to implement. We just have to incorporate the Y squish factor into the rendering of monsters, because that just doesn't exist right now. So back in Warrior Thief, let's go ahead and add a new phase for this called the roll phase. Like so. And it's just an enum to allow the monster to exist in different phases. So basically, we have to specify this variable. And this was used in the warrior class. If we go look at how that was used, in Ground Slam, we called it the spin function, which is fine. We made a spin function specifically for monsters, and then for the monster class, if I pull up spin here, it leads to us seeing that it uses that variable. So this is what makes it change phases. So in here, we would kind of do the strategy of like, if monster, then we're going to say monster set phase. Excuse me, I'm dying. Set phase, and then we would grab the variable as well in a similar manner. So like in here we did, or in here we did this variable. Probably have something very similar. It'd be like m get strategy name. Oh, m get strategy name, followed by m get int and the enum slot. Now it's not going to be spin state because that's holding the spin state, so it'll be something like roll state, and we'll just add that enum to our attributes list for monsters, and at least we'll have that ready. So then back over here, we go ahead and set the roll state enum slot to be the correct slot. And this is most like for safety, because we could just directly hard code it and say like roll is state 3 and spin is state 2, but there is a chance like in the future we might add something here and we might want to change these for whatever reason, and if we have to change code in multiple places, that's not good. So having these here to hold these values to reference later is a smart decision. That way if we ever change it, at least we're not going to have any issues. So yeah. Every time you say monsters, I hear Creatures Lie Here Nightcore song. Oh my god. Also, I don't know where I am. This is Trapper. We're not in Trapper right now, we're in Thief. So yeah, for monsters, it would be like this. For player, we probably just call set state, state roll. Because that's just easier. And if, and do p.setState to state roll. It also has a rolling timer, but I assume we're going to need to do rolling timer for both. Or something similar. We're going to have to make a rolling timer variable for monsters, so I'm going to have to add that. Roll underscore timer. I don't know if there's any other state variables we'll need. Apparently there's a footstep timer. So we'll replicate that one too. And then I think we're pretty much good to go. There's a Y squish factor. But this I will actually put as a property of monster, because that is going to affect rendering directly, and I would like that to be a key part of rendering then. And who knows, we might use this variable for something else too. Y squish factor. I assume it's supposed to like... It's like a scalar, so I assume it starts at like 1. And then it squishes the image based on what it is. Because right here we're doing a sine wave of 0.5 height plus 0.5 base value, so it must be 1 by default. Can we go to the declaration, please? Here we go. Yeah, default is 1, so we're gonna do the same on the monster side. Okay. Y squish factor, and then under monster draw, let's go ahead and implement that if we can. So let's look for, I think there's actually a render monster lambda? Oh, I guess not. Oh, here it is. There's a draw base monster. So the draw base monster lambda would be based on, apparently there's a scale that gets passed into here, so that means there must be an image scale that gets modified over time. So I guess what we could do is we can just say image scale dot y, because we're only interested in the y component, is then multiplied by the y scale factor, and that should take care of that. I don't know why it's not popping up. It's kind of weird. Oh, it's called Y squish factor. If we multiply it directly, I assume we get the correct result. So that will then be passed into the draw functions, and we've got that taken care of. Yeah. Rendering code is a bit messy, naturally, because we don't usually have to deal with rendering. It's kind of been a done deal for a long time. So this rolling timer thing, let's go ahead and implement it. So here, rolling timer, and then up here, we'll say the float of roll timer. Oh, that's not how we do that, is it? Oh wait, it is. Yeah. Cool, it works here. I wonder why. Oh, because M is defined. Okay. Yeah, this thing makes an assumption that the M variable is defined as a monster reference. So, as long as we have that, it should be able to figure it out. Get float. Yeah, I just want to make sure that's exactly what we're getting here. Yeah. So it assumes there's a monster reference called M. It also assumes there's a param and a strategy value too. But the param is defined by the macro. Like, it's inserted in here. So that's the... Although it looks like this get float goes somewhere else. And I'm not exactly sure where. I was trying to find it because, like, that config float is a little different. Anyway, I always dig myself into a hole there with that one, because there's like 3 layers of macros to get to where I want to be. But yeah, essentially it does this, so that's what we're looking for. And then roll timer. So I guess what I could do, I should be able to do this then. Interestingly enough. I don't know why that wouldn't work. Because that's essentially the same thing. So roll timer is then equal to config float, and then that value. So we just say thief, right click ability, roll time. Config underscore F in this case. Which apparently that's wrong too. All caps. Cool. So we'll just do that for both. Just to simplify things. And then we have original roll intensity, and then roll intensity is original roll intensity, and roll intensity gets adjusted based on an enchant. So this is all player specific. That can go in here because monsters don't have enchants, so that will never occur. And then a speed boost gets applied based on roll intensity. So this variable is needed. Okay. I guess that goes out here then. And then let me just... Oh, this is an array. I don't think we have a config F for... Like, can I do lowercase f? I don't know if we have that. Apparently not. Okay. So I need to add this. Basically, lowercase f indicates that it's trying to access a value inside of an array. So I need to grab this, or I need to make this real quick. Which is fine. Not a big deal, just as you can see. Oh, wait, I do have one. Oh, it's an argument inside the macro. I guess that makes sense. I don't know why I couldn't do the bracket syntax. I kind of wish I could. Oh, you know what? This is where I ran into that issue with the operator underscore F thing. Because originally I wanted to do that, but apparently in only Microsoft Visual MSVC, I can't call like for some reason it was producing the most bizarre compiler error trying to do something like this. It just wasn't working. And apparently some viewers even told me like they didn't even know this was a thing. Well, apparently it is a thing, but it just doesn't work right half the time. It like the compiler just refuses to make it work, so I don't know. I was trying to make it work and it almost did. And I couldn't replicate it like in a sample project, so I'm just like, I don't know. To try replicate the complexities of this project right now is not really feasible. But anyways, we just specified the array element member here, and it works apparently. What in the... which? Yes. Yeah. Like, some people are like, I didn't even know you could do that, and that's wild. Okay, so... speed buff gets added, speed boost gets added, and then I assume it does a location based on a mouse direction. All the mouse stuff is only for players, so we don't have to worry about that. Let's see. So we will set the velocity, but it'll just be based on the facing direction for a monster. So as long as we set the facing direction correctly, it'll work fine. Or we can do it based on a target too. We'd have to see. I don't know what to do about that one yet. Like, oh, we can use this. So this is supposed to be like the target, right? The pause value. So if we pass that in, it will use that, at least for monsters. For players, apparently it doesn't use that, but I guess that makes sense. Because it's like a directly invoked ability. Okay. So I'm just trying to think here. The roll range gets increased based on a certain value. And then is used where? Right here? Okay, so that gets clamped by the mouse length. So that's where we use the roll range. So this is probably all player specific. I'm just gonna move it up here. And let's just adjust all these to be from pointers to references. That all should behave exactly the same. Although I will adjust the variables to use this syntax instead. Oh. That's... okay, that's based on enchant, that's fine. Yeah, that's the enchant syntax, which is a little weird, but yeah. It just returns if it's supposed to be boosted by an enchant, how much it's boosted by. You can get a variable from it. I'll tell you exactly what it is. Okay, so replace that. It's those. I assume we'll be here for about the next week in terms of like updating all the player abilities to also work for monsters. But then this makes it nice because the original plan is to just recode every single one of these abilities, which doesn't really make sense if they were already coded before. Like, I should be able to reuse quite a bit of the code and just have to do like a split, essentially, between what's monster-specific, what's player-specific, and what monster-specific things have to occur. So here, it determines the velocity based on like the mouse direction and stuff. So essentially, like, we can say whatever position we pass into for a monster is essentially the position that the monster will whirl towards, and we just specify the correct position. So apparently mouster is calculated... okay, it draws a line from current position to mouse, so I guess that's gonna be still used, still a mouse direction, just from the monster's position to whatever position is passed into this function. I did not get to yet. And I will have a chance to this weekend, so I definitely will. But thank you in advance. Because you sent me one, and then you sent me another one, so then I'm like, oh, okay. I already started looking at one, so then I'm like, now I'm gonna have to read both. But I'll get to them. Thank you, though. Okay, roll range. So I guess the roll range still comes into account, which I guess makes sense. Okay, I just have to do, like... it's just gonna be roll range. Like this. And then that's taken care of. This is... I don't think monsters have friction. So I don't know what to do about... oh, it's inaccessible. Okay, well, I'll just make it accessible. Or add a get friction function. Is there a get friction? No. I'm not gonna bother. Because it's such a minor thing. Nothing's gonna adjust a monster's friction, I promise. So I'm moving that over to be publicly exposed. At least I thought it was publicly exposed. Apparently that's not right. Okay. This is all private still. Oh yeah, it is. Okay, it's just the unit testing. So where are the public members? Oh. There are like almost none, which is surprising. They have to be somewhere. What? There's no way. There's no way. I'm impressed. There's no way, like, I've kept all these unexposed. That's impressive. I am in shock. Okay. Anyway. I'm like, I have no member variables for monster exposed. That's actually insane. So that's taken care of. Alright. So then this is enchant based. This is, looks like some kind of damage reduction based on enchants. So that can go up here. It looks like there's supposed to be, okay, so there is a iframe time, so invincibility will be applied to both. Right here. So it's just a matter of adjusting the iframe time. So I guess I can expose this here, and then just have the player-specific block adjust whether or not it gets increased. And then it gets applied down here. And a footstep timer. Oh, this really does it have like set iframes? I swear we had an iframe one. Oh, it's called set iframe time. So what's the difference between apply iframes and set iframe? I guess that's the next question. Because this, there has to be a reason there's two, right? So we have apply iframes versus set iframe time. Oh, you know what? I think I know the specifics. It will never go above the value that you tell it to. So for example, let me see. So set iframes, if you look at it, it just sets it directly. Whereas apply iframes, if you provide a smaller value, it will actually use whichever is larger. That way you don't override an iframe value that is more important. And then we have the same for monsters, I presume. Yeah, I even have a warning here. We'll directly override the iframe timer as opposed to apply, which actually keeps the longest current frame time. That way, if like you become invulnerable for 4 seconds, then and you apply another half second, it won't be like, oh, your 4 seconds of invulnerability now goes away. Hi there, Struggle. So this is my own game engine, although the rendering is based off of a rendering framework called the OLC Pixel Game Engine. So outside of the backend, which uses OpenGL, everything built on top of it is a custom-built game engine. Yeah, it was news to me, Kraton, so I was very much interested in, like, learning in depth what that actually meant when you said, like, oh, exceptions have a cost based on how many exceptions, and I'm like, okay, that's interesting. How does it scale? How bad does it get? Etc. Right? I thought that was, like, a fascinating thing to at least research and learn, so I appreciate it still. So this is actually called, what do we call it? Set iframe time? So then my question is, does set iframe time call set iframes or apply iframes? So it calls apply iframes. So wouldn't you argue that this should be called apply iframes? I'm like, help. Why is it called something different? I'm just gonna call it apply iframes. So I went ahead and did a refactor of that. Apparently it didn't work. Or it didn't change this, which has me worried. I feel like it only didn't set this one because this function doesn't compile right now. That's probably why. I don't think if you do refactor, it auto does it on, but it should have refactored in here, which I know there's at least one iframe. Okay, it did do it here. So it's literally just anything that doesn't compile. And then we have footstep timer, which has to go in here. And then we have to adjust or set the footstep timer of the monster, which is an attribute, like so. And then I think after that, we've got that fixed up. So that's the roll ability. Let me try to build in case I messed anything up. Hopefully not. Oh, it's gotta do a whole rebuild. Okay, I mean, that's fair. We refactored an entity function. I'm gonna have to call it pretty soon, but it's gonna be what we're doing for the next, like, I'd say week. There are 6 classes in the game. Each class has 4 abilities, so It'll be a little bit of work, but the conversion process is not that painful. Mostly just moving some stuff around, renaming a few things, and having to implement some features that a monster might not have. But it's not, like, terrible. So, yeah. Should be pretty chill. What isn't chill is figuring out what happened to my unit testing. Which I still wonder about. I'm not in the right place. But, like, I still need to figure out what's going on with that. That's gonna be what I'm working on today. Oh, this didn't even, like, build. Why didn't this build? Error. Uh-oh. Did we commit something that was, like... Theme data was not declared in the scope. That's weird. Because theme data is... Theme data is a macro that holds the themes graphics for the game. Fade out complete was not... Okay, there seems to be something... Hold on, what's the first error? That's kind of weird. Oh no, initialize graphics. Like, this just wasn't building? I'm so confused. This was in the Shadow Boss... We did this earlier today, yeah, this is in the Shadow Boss branch. I don't know. Oh, here we go. It's actually popping up here too. Okay, good. So what happened? Like, theme data should be a thing, but it's not. Did I, like, merge incorrectly? Oh no. Theme data should definitely be a thing. I think. Oh man, now I gotta look. Okay, so let me go to... Actually, let's look it up in here. It'll be easier. Go back to dynamic resource loading. I just want to take a look at the code. Browse source. And we're just going to go to adventuresinlastoria.cpp and look at this initialize graphics function real quick. Here's my source code, please. Adventuresinlastoria.cpp under initialize graphics. So, I mean, the line does exist, so, I mean, that kind of makes sense, but does theme data... Theme data should be defined. I don't know why it's not... Well, that's not good. Okay, we're gonna go back. So, let's go... Let's check out dynamic item descriptions. Let's stash for now. And go back. Yeah, take a step back. I tend to treat it as a cheat away from polymorphism. Oh, okay. I see. So if I look at this one... Oh, it's actually gone. So theme data got removed. Why didn't that get merged with the other... Oh, what is going on? I have no idea what's going on right now. Alright. Oops. Oh, I'm in the wrong branch. I want dynamic resource loading. Discard, I guess. What? What the heck? Alright. Initialize graphics in here does have it, which makes sense. It's supposed to be here. It's a safe unordered map. So is it just not defined in the other header? That's what I'm worried about. Like, it's just not picking this up for some reason. Like, did it just get deleted? What? So I'm just gonna go back, because this seems to be the only point that's a problem. Like, I did an auto merge, so I feel like I must have screwed up something if that didn't work right. So here it doesn't exist, so I can add this, but like, what are the implications if this is missing? Laziness? Isn't that the whole reason that we're programmers? Is because we're lazy? We're lazy so we tell computers to do everything for us, right? This constant expression has type direct... I feel like that's not... This type direction instead of the required int type? Wait, what? Hold on. That's not... Did I, like, lose my commit I did earlier with the keys? Hold on. I'm in the right place, right? I'm losing it right now. I'm pretty sure I managed my branches correctly. I hope I did, because something... Fade out complete is not even a thing. Okay. I don't know what's going on, but something weird is happening. Like, I must have messed up the merging somehow and didn't even pay attention. I probably should have reviewed it ahead of time. Okay, so... let me look at the commit we did when we tried to merge, right? Because that should have been all the key stuff. Or, excuse me, not key stuff. This should have been all the asset manager update stuff. Which, it looks like it is. It's a gigantic commit. Almost 10,000 additions, which is fine. That's what it's supposed to be. And then this merge should have been the key stuff that we fixed. So we changed everything from key to direction to include this wizard.cpp thing, which get facing direction should be for player, should have been updated. It was to the direction type. So like in here, this commit proves that this is a thing and it does exist. So on the remote end at least. So are we not up to date? Or is this thing lying to me? Oh, it's lying to me. Oh, isn't that wonderful? Okay, well, it's lying to me, but I don't know why fade out complete is now messed up. It's like there's just random variables not here. Fade out complete. So this variable was added in this commit. Like, this was used to indicate that, like, yeah, it's done. So, fade out complete. It should just be a boolean that gets set in a couple places. So like here, there's an if statement here. So we should find that in the current version of it too at around line 4354. Should be pretty close. Yeah, right here. So yeah, I don't know why this variable is not like included here. It's almost like the variables that got added for this header file got like completely replaced. Like as in the merging process like didn't bother or something. Where? I don't even see where the... Oh, the header file didn't even get changed. So that's kind of weird. Anyways, I can... Yeah. It's as if the header file didn't get included with the commits. But yeah, it's supposed to be a boolean that starts out as false. So I'm just gonna add that back in and assume that everything will be okay after this. Because I'm looking at the commit and I'm like, there's no change to the header. Why? It's like I just completely ignored the fact that the header got modified in this commit. Which is dumb. And it looks like the theme data thing didn't get included either, so... It looks like those were the two things that got messed up. So with those things fixed, I think we'll call it here for today. I'm just gonna make sure it compiles and runs, and we'll be good after that. Well, it's been a pretty chill programming session, and it will be over the next few days, so... I just hope I get better. Like, I'm tired of being sick. So, yeah. Do you compile? It looks like it's doing it. So, yeah. Good coding session. Pretty chill. Hope you all enjoyed today's stream. Okay, default pack ID, because we just checked out a new branch. That's fine. I can put that in later. It's a secret. So, yeah, at least we compiled. So, for those of you that tuned in, thanks for watching. Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely 4-minute compile times. And we'll see you all next time. Okay? Bye-bye. Thank you.